Okay, so today I'm going to be explaining every Hashira's Breath style as fast as I can. This way you guys can fully understand the greatness of Demon Slayer whilst also saving as much time in your day as possible so that you can keep watching more Demon Slayer. Yes, that is right, it is a win-win. Also, spoilers. So with that said, let's begin with water breathing. Giyu Tomioka uses water breathing. The Urokodaki, the water Hashira who came before him, was the one who taught him this breathing style. Giyu is one of the most talented water breathing users of his generation, as he perfected his swordsmanship style to the point where he devised a whole new breathing style method that amazed even Akaza, who had previously faced a water Hashira in the past. This breathing style is all centered around the beauty of flowing water, and there are a total of 11 forms, including the one that Giyu made himself. These include giving the user ability to move like flowing water, create violent whirlpool-like slashes, peacefully decapitate their victims, and in the case of Giyu's very own, the 11th form, the user achieves a state of perfect serenity, deflecting, blocking, and cutting all oncoming assaults with their blade. Next up is flame breathing. A breathing style taught to Kyojuro by his father, the previous Flame Hashira, who learned it by reading the training books left behind by the other Flame Hashira in the Rengoku family. Kyojuro is the most talented flame breathing user of his generation, and became clearly adept at fighting with this breathing style, defeating former lower rank 2 Hyro on his own, and then holding his own up against upper rank 3 Akaza before his death. There are 9 forms of flame breathing in total, which allow the user to attack with much force on top of also being able to perform the likes of swinging their sword in a circular manner to defend themselves from oncoming assaults or to decapitate many demons at the same time. The final form, Rengoku, takes the shape of a flaming Japanese dragon that surrounds the user whilst they are charging towards the victim, and has enough force to carve a deep impression that burned the earth when it was unleashed, whilst also being a deadly slash. But following up from the GOAT that is Rengoku is the new GOAT of Demon Slayer, Tengen and sound breathing. Tengen actually invented this breathing style. Tengen's heightened sense of hearing, his musical score skill, and of course his shinobi expertise all helped create sound breathing. When paired with his dual nichirin cleavers and anti-demon bombs too, it becomes the whole shebang. There are 5 forms that we know of at least with sound breathing. I say that we know of because we see him use form 5, but we don't actually see him perform 5 different ones. In fact, we only actually get to see him perform 3. First form, third form, and then 5th form. But these allow him to do things such as use his blades and his explosives to perform significant physical damage and produce a thunderous sound, or by creating a longer distance attack by also propelling these explosives using a swift spinning motion which also acts as a shield. But next up we have insect breathing. Now, whilst also being one of the main waifus of the series, Shinobu also has one of the most unique breath styles too. She invented this breathing style herself to compensate for her lack of physical power whilst cutting off a demon's head. She honed her swordsmanship skills to the point that she can slay many demons and even battle toe-to-toe with Doma, the second strongest upper rank demon. Unlike the other styles I have spoken about, her techniques aren't named forms, but instead are called dances, each one of them being named after a different insect. There's Butterfly, where Shinobu leaps into the air and lunges towards the opponent, stinging them with her sword. Dance of the Bee Sting is where Shinobu sprints towards her victim at breakneck speed, using the momentum to attack with a single thrust, injecting a lethal poison into her opponent. The Dance of the Dragonfly is a 6-strike attack that seeks to hit and inject several doses of poison into the target's vulnerable vulnerable points to kill them. And then lastly, there is Dance of the Centipede, an attack in which Shinobu travels in a zigzag pattern at a speed fast enough to demolish an entire wooden bridge as a means to confuse her opponents, allowing Shinobu to stab them in the neck and inject a lethal poison. But from one waifu to another, let's talk about love breathing. A style that Mitsuri developed herself and is in fact a derivative of flame breathing, as she is a former student of Kyojuro Rengoku. Although Mitsuri had learnt flame breathing, she wasn't very good at it and couldn't use it to its full potential. As a result, she invented love breathing, as it was more suited to her and allows her to fully utilize her unique set of skills, such as her superhuman flexibility and her distinctive whip-like Nichiren sword, which is key to her love breathing. This breath style has 6 forms, mainly giving her the ability to combine her superhuman power, speed and flexibility, as well as her vast range of motion with the long range she can use using her whip, reaching distances which a standard katana simply are not capable of, giving her the advantage in battle. But next up we've got stone breathing. Gyomei either learnt this technique from someone else or mastered it himself. We will never know. Gyomei is also one of, if not the strongest of all Hashira too. In his fight against Kokoshibo, the strongest demon in the entire series besides Muzan himself, he demonstrated the mastery of stone breathing by unleashing assaults that matched the demon's moon breathing. Most of his attacks result in heavy hitting, wide range attacks due to his unique Nichiren weapons. He uses an axe and flail to fight, which results in a fighting style like no other Hashira. By spinning the flail and throwing the axe, he can inflict hard hitting blows whilst also protecting himself by deflecting attacks using air created by his slashes. The chain for his weapon was also so strong that Kokoshibo was unable to cut through it, whilst Gyomei could cut through Kokoshibo's blade. As you can imagine, stone breathing resembles the earth and stone. In fact, some techniques and forms exploit the user's ground around them and surroundings to unleash strong assaults that specialize in both offensive and defensive techniques. Now, although I mentioned that Gyomei either mastered this technique or learnt it from someone else, what we do know is that he was not the first person to use it. The originator, like many breathing techniques, came from a student of Yurichi. Because that person was not as naturally powerful as Yurichi, they were unable to master sun breathing and were instead taught an alternative personalized breathing style that focused on their strengths, which eventually became stone breathing. But going from the oldest Hashira now to the youngest, we've got Muichiro Tokito, one of Kokoshibo's descendants, and his mist breathing. As the name implies, mist breathing imitates mist, notably the anonymity of mist. Most, if not all, known techniques and forms incorporate quick attacks and motions that conceal the opponent's senses and surroundings. His mastery in this swordsmanship technique surpassed and impressed Kokoshibo, who said it was beyond his expectations. Who, if you don't remember, is Yorichi's twin brother. Because of the anonymity of mist breathing, Muichiro dons clothes that hide his limbs, which in turn helps him hide from his opponents. Muichiro is also the inventor of his own technique, the 7th form, obscuring clouds. A technique in which the user abruptly alters their movement tempo to confuse their opponent. This technique allows the user to almost appear invisible, as if they were concealed in mist. When the user makes themselves visible again, they move extremely slow, but they can quickly move again in the blink of an eye and return to their state of near invisibility. But whilst we're talking about the descendants of Kokoshibo, let's talk about wind breathing. Wind breathing is a technique that, as the name implies, simulates wind, notably the tremendous torrents of air and whirlwinds that it creates. The user makes spinning motions to make quick whirlwind-like slashes that dramatically expand their striking range, or use the air surrounding them to unleash sharp, sickle-shaped blows. His skill with wind breathing even reminded Kokoshibo of the first ever wind Hashira from the Sengoku Rengoku era, which was the golden age of Demon Slayers, which puts Saname on par, if not surpassing, the greatest wind Hashira of all time. And then finally we have Serpent Breathing. This technique mimics the slithering motions of serpents and snakes. Most, if not all, known methods and forms center on the user twisting and bending their blade like a serpent's slithering. It is also a derivative of water breathing, which probably explains the similarities in movements the user performs using twists and turns. Obonai Iguro, the serpent Hashira, actually created the ability himself. Not much else is known about the technique, however Iguro does use this breathing style alongside his ability to communicate with his partner Kaburamaru, a snake who Obonai relies on to see during the final battle with Muzan. And with that, that is pretty much everything you need to know about all of the Hashira's breathing styles in as short of amount of time as possible. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe if you're not already, and ding that notification bell, and I'll be seeing you guys very soon in another video. But until then, as always, peace.